is how you take a $5 piece of junk garbage and turn it into a beautifully looking and beautifully feeling gift. So today on Dr. Mod's Lab, we're gonna show you why you should hang on to your old broken devices, or better yet, when you see them out in the wild, you should pick them up, because this is going to blow your mind when it's all done. Now, explain to me exactly what we're doing here today.
So we had actually a follower of your show come to us with a special request.
Yep.
He has two twin daughters named Allura and Mallory, and he wants them to have their very own Game Boy Colors. And he wanted them to be pink color and to have their names on it.
The fact that somebody is gifting their younger twin daughters Game Boy Colors, I think is fantastic. This is the sort of stuff that obviously if you watch my channel, you know I'm a huge advocate for exposing my kids, who my boys are 9 and 11, to stuff like this is really important, not just to keep this sort of stuff alive, but for game preservation. If they show interest in it, then we get stuff like the Chromatic and Mod Retro publishing new Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. It's really important. So Ryan, I think what you're doing here is very, very cool. Ryan actually came out and paid a visit to us for the first Tofer.Con last year.
Yeah.
And brought some beautiful gifts. And so I feel like this is an awesome way to repay you and give something really cool to your girls in return. So what are we doing here?
He wanted the Game Boys to be pink, so we got this really nice pink shell.
All right.
He wanted them to have the nice new light up screen. And so we got this really nice screen. And what's cool about this screen, Chris, is that you can actually program the Game Boy Color logo to be different colors.
Okay,
and
I can't wait to see this.
This is gonna be neat. So we're gonna set that up. And then we're gonna put, to contrast nicely, I think, with the pink color, we're gonna do white buttons.
Wow, white and like this pastel pink is gonna look just, we won't show it yet, but you do have a little special gift that you're gonna be adding on to this.
Oh yeah.
You'll have to see that at the end. But first, let's take a look at this hot, steamy dump of a Game Boy Color that we're gonna use.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why you don't throw this sort of stuff away. Tell me about this thing.
I mean,
what happened here?
I'm not gonna be able to salvage that screen, Chris.
No, that's done. That's
it
done.
looked like somebody took a blowtorch to it.
Is that smashed? What is that?
No, that is the result of it being out in the sun.
Looks like an eye. It's like the eye of Sauron.
I mean, yeah, it's like that, kind of wavy like a strip of bacon.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's a little dirty, but it is the very classic atomic purple color, but boy, is that thing. So tell me about this. Where did you get it?
So I sourced that from Japan, and I paid nothing for it.
I was going to say, what would you say you paid for this thing?
I paid for a lot of broken Game Boys in a set, and I ended up getting for that probably for about $5.
$5.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
$5. As we go through this process, we're going to break down the costs of all this stuff, and we're going to show you, if you bought a brand new in-box CIB Game Boy Color that was working and original, what those cost and what this whole setup is going to cost.
Yep.
All right, so are we ready to do this?
Yeah.
What's step number one?
So step number one, let's get our tools together. 2 tools needed. Actually, 3 tools needed, because this new screen is gonna...
one.
Don't be hard on yourself, Chris. We're gonna need a tri-wing, and then we're gonna need a Phillips head screw once we get inside. And then we are gonna need a soldering iron in this case. That is gonna be for the wiring for our screen, our special screen. So let's go ahead and start taking those screws out.
God, Nintendo loves these tri-wings.
I know, I don't love them.
No.
So let's get them out. So 6 total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And in this case, you're going to use brand new screws to put it back together?
Yes, because these show a lot of oxidation on them. They're not too pretty. I want it to look brand new for Ryan's daughters. And, you know, I really love working on a Game Boy in this kind of condition, because, you know, most people would see this and go, oh, this is trash, throw it out. No, it's still good.
Yeah, it is.
Everything inside is just fine. It's just that screen, so we can repurpose this. So I'm glad it's getting a new life, and I hope Ryan's daughters really enjoy them. Okay, we got our 6 screws loose. Now we're just going to pop the back cover off, put that down here. And there's your motherboard for your Game Boy Color. Look at that, Nintendo 1998. Man, it takes me back. The next step we're going to want to do is take these 3 Phillips head screws out. Be cautious with these. These ones are shorter than the ones that hold the shell together. You don't want to use the ones from the shell because they'll go right through the plastic. So use the shorter screws here.
Yeah, nothing worse than destroying the shell that you just bought.
Chris, I've done it, and it makes me sad when it happens.
Yeah.
So those 3 screws are out. What's next? Pop the ribbon cable out. It has 2 notches, as you see, that I've loosened here. So I bring them up and then lift the board. And then there you go. That's it. It's free.
There it is. Let's take a look at that thing.
Yeah.
That's actually in pretty good shape.
It is.
You know, even the speaker is not super dirty like we've seen in the past.
No, no.
And you know what? I don't see any maggots.
Oh man, they didn't show up this time.
Do you want me to get the? I have the PlayStation.
No,
case.
no,
Okay,
man.
I can get it.
I just ate, man. No.
Look at that. So oddly enough, this is really what you're salvaging from a Game Boy like that, because the rest of the shell can be cleaned up and used again. The screen is toast. This is the real important part here. This is what we call the original hardware.
Exactly.
There it is.
And these are pretty bulletproof. I mean, the only things I ever see go wrong on these is they get some corrosion on the contacts here, which can be cleaned. And sometimes the power switch can get a little dirty, and so sometimes it's worth opening these up and cleaning the inside.
Sure.
But this one was turning off and on pretty good before I brought it here. So the next step, let's go ahead and put that new screen into our front shell. It's got the ribbon cable here. Just make sure you bend that downward as you're trying to insert this. So this shell was made for this type of screen, so it's just going to fit in place. If you're going to use your original front shell like this one, you're going to have to do some cutting to make it work. Okay, and so this one was pre-made to fit this screen, which makes life a lot easier for us.
Yes, it does.
So see that? See how that just fit right in there? I'm going to go ahead and take the protective cover off of it. And so we're going to remove this 3M adhesive that's on the back of the screen. Just peel that off. Then you're going to peel it off here too. Okay? And then we're going to put it into our shell. So make sure that ribbon cable here is tucked in. Bring this guy down. And apply some pressure.
Yeah, that white and pink really go well together. And the fact that this lights up,
it's going to be cool.
I want one of these myself.
All right, so we got that done. And then next, what we're going to do is set up our little board here that powers our screen. And there's a few wires we're going to need to solder. One of them's to the start button, one of them's to the select button, and one of them's to power, which we will see right here. Power, see? So I'm going to put a little bit of flux on these points and tin them up to get them ready. Then they gave us some wires with it too. There's 3 wires that we're going to use, very small, to solder to those points. And they're all going to be in the back of the board here, okay? This little board is going to be sitting in the front here and loop around here and plug in here. This is going to go to the shell top for a touchpad to access settings. And then we're going to solder the power point here to our power switch, and then we're going to wire our start and select buttons to here. And they give us the 3 little wires to do that. So let's start tinning up stuff so that we can start to do that.
All right.
And the points that we're going to tin up are going to be here on the power switch and a couple points here on the board for the start and select. Okay? So let's start that process going. So I'm using this guide here to see where we need to put our solder points here on our board. So for the start and select buttons, to set them up with the ribbon cable, we're going to solder to this point here and this point here. This is select, and this bottom one below there is start. So we're going to tin up those 2 areas. So I'm going to put a little bit of flux on it. There we go. And then we're going to tin them up with some solder. Okay, and we got those 2 points tinned up now. Okay, the next point we're going to solder is right here by the power switch. It's going to be the second point up from the bottom, right here. So let's go ahead and tin that up a little bit so it's ready for our new wires. Right here, because it's kind of can already see the solder blobs here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to obstruct that angle. So those are the 2 points we need to tin out on our motherboard. Now we're going to tin up our spots that we need done on our ribbon cable here, the start and select, and I'm just going to dab a little solder on it. Okay, and then we need one for our power. Okay, so now we're going to wire the 2 points together from this ribbon cable and the board. So we got our wires here. So give us 3 wires of our kit here. We'll start soldering those points up. So we'll start with the start and select buttons. Go ahead and run the wire next to the ribbon cable here using your soldering iron. So now you're going to put the select wire here and solder it to its point. There we go. And then next we're going to solder our start wire. There we go. Next, our power wire. We're going to wire our power wire. And so our power wire is right here. I'm going to solder it right there. Okay, we're going to take our power wire here and solder that to this point. There we go. Okay, so we're going to wire our select wire here to the point on the board. And that's this area right here. Okay, and now we have that point done. Now we're going to bring our start wire and solder it right here. There we go. The last one is the part of our ribbon cable that needs to connect to the on-off switch here. So we're going to bring this guy around. Okay, and we have that soldered to our power switch right here. Okay, so what we're going to do next is connect our board to our IPS screen. And so we're going to bring it around here like this. And one of the nice things they did for us on this kit is they gave us a little adhesive already, tape already there. So we're going to get that ready. And so here we go, peeling the adhesive tape. We're going to connect the IPS screen to this board. Just put a little pressure, and there we go. And then just lay that down nicely on the back. And just apply a tiny little bit of pressure. Not a lot of pressure. These screens are very thin and fragile. So just a little tiniest bit of pressure. And now we're going to put our new buttons, new white buttons, very nice. I'll put my A button and my B button. This is where the LEDs, cover the color cover for the IR. And then we got our power switch there. And then we got our white rubber membranes there. Put this guy here. Put the start and select right here. And then our A and B button rubber membrane. We're going to put that right here. Okay. So now that we got all our buttons in place, we're going to flip our motherboard around and put it in place. So, and start putting those 3 screws that we had taken off earlier. We got a brand new set of screws right here. And so we're going to separate them by size so we don't accidentally use screws that are too long. These are our outside shell screws, and these are the ones that are going to secure our motherboard. So we got all the screws separated. These are the motherboard screws. So use a Phillips head and put these guys back.
Beautiful. That is a good looking.
That's nice.
Man, that's a really good looking GameBoy Color.
Oh, these feel good too. Oh man, love the clickiness. They're great. Okay, now we're gonna hook up our IPS screen ribbon cable. There's a touchpad here for the settings. They put a little adhesive tape there. We're gonna take that off and we're gonna peel this double-sided tape and apply the ribbon cable to the top part of the shell, or this touchpad to the top part of the shell. So there we go. This is gonna go right in there. And I'm just going to press gently with the screwdriver here, just so it makes some contact. There we go, and that made contact very nicely. And then we're going to bring the ribbon cable down and plug it in. Bring that down here. Make sure the tabs are up, and slide this guy in. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and push down on the 2 tabs, and there we go. Our IPS screen is hooked up. And so now we're going to put the back part of the shell on. And before we do that, we're going to put our power switch. And when you put this on, make sure that the tabs are lined up, okay, from the plastic piece and your power switch, okay? I have broken one of these before by tightening it. It wasn't aligned, and you're gonna have a bad day when that happens. So make sure they're aligned before you tighten it down. This is the little cover for the IR here. And we're gonna go ahead and put that in place. That's gonna go right in there in this little slot. There it is. We're gonna take our back piece here, put it back down here, and there we go. We're going to put our back screws now. And remember, these are going to be tri-wing. So these are tri-wing driver.
The only screws that are left at this point.
6 screws left. So tighten these guys down. And we're going to put our new sticker in the back. That nice and new.
All right, we got 2 batteries.
Nice.
I'll let you do the honors.
Thank you.
And of course, my favorite Game Boy Color game. Look at how beautiful that thing came out. That thing really pops. Let's pop a game in it.
Sounds good.
All right, now check this thing out. Watch the Game Boy logo here as this thing boots up. Oh my God. It like rolls at the same speed as the Game Boy Color logo on the screen.
That is so
Of course,
neat.
we're booting up my favorite Game Boy Color game of all time. Yes. Look how beautiful that thing is.
Wow. You gotta love IPS screens. I mean, the color you get from them, it's amazing.
What a beautiful gift. Now remember what this thing looked like beforehand and what it turned into. Did you say that there was a way to change?
Yeah, that is actually programmable. Where it says Game Boy Color, you hit a certain button combination and you can actually change the color of where it says Game Boy Color.
Really?
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Let's run down this thing so everyone can see. Okay, so you said the original garbage Game Boy Color that had been left out in the sun in Japan was somewhere around $5. You got it in a lot, actually.
Uh-huh.
Averaged out to be about $5. This pink case cost
It costs $20.
$20 for the pink case. The new screen,
New screen, $45.
$45. That gives you a total of whatever it says on the screen here, because my math is not that fast.
I'm just a doctor.
Let's be real. If you bought a Game Boy Color mint in box, right, that was working perfectly, all original, you would be paying far more for that than you would be for this, you know, refurbished job. And that screen, that screen is really something else. So this right here is exactly why, if you have something from your childhood that is broken or old and not working anymore, do a little more research on it and see what you can't come up with. Maybe make what was old new again, especially if you have kids or if you have nieces or nephews or whoever that you can pass this sort of stuff down to. The more of this sort of stuff that gets passed down, the better for our hobby, and then our kids and their kids end up loving it as well. Ryan, I think what you're doing here for the twinsies' birthday is fantastic. This is a really, really cool thing.
We're going to take it a little step further. You know, we wanted to personalize it a little more.
Yeah.
So I 3D printed their names right here, Mallory and Allura. And I made the white and pink try to match what we have on our Game Boy.
And this is going to go on the Game Boy.
Yeah, we're going to put it right here. I'm going to use some strong double-sided tape, and they'll sit right there so they know which one's theirs.
So no fighting siblings over these.
Yeah.
That's mine. No, that's mine. Well, in all honesty, the games are saved to the cartridge anyway, so it kind of doesn't really matter. What a beautiful looking screen.
Yeah. They won't have to use the worm lights like we had to use.
Yeah. Who remembers those things? You had to plug them into the side, and it was a little coily thing with the light on the end, and you put it over the top, and you kind of had to position it where it wasn't like right obstructing your view. If it's gonna get thrown away, don't let it get thrown away. Inside this is an original Game Boy Color.
Yep.
So Ryan, thank you very much. I think what you're doing here is fantastic. Dr. Mod, you did a fantastic job for the birthday presents.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see just exactly how they like these things when they get them. Ryan, make sure you hit the comments of this video and let us know what they think after they play with them for a little while. So if you want to see something like this done to a Game Boy Advance, our friends over at Strainus sent a brand new case, and Dr. Mod rebuilt that one with a new screen as well. You can check out that video right here. And if you want to see videos like this in the future, make sure you follow along to the channel here and hit that little bell icon to be notified. And I don't know, what do you want to do now?
The same thing we do every night, Chris.
Try and take over the world?